So in this lesson, we're going to learn the 3/4 view, at least the template for the 3/4 view. I have to say, personally for me, this is the hardest view to master. Extremely difficult to draw from your imagination. Still sometimes to this day, and I've drawn thousands and thousands of 3/4 view or quarter turn view, and from different even angles of quarter turn view in my comics, and still sometimes it's difficult. So keep that in mind. For some people like me, this is the most difficult view of the face, and take your time with it. You know, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to get you're going to feel like you're never going to progress, but just keep at it and keep practicing, and you will, and use the template. So the basic template is we're still going to kind of use that idea of the front view. So the front view measurements are pretty much going to remain the same. Now this right here is a basic template of what happens in the front view. So you have the front view and it's cut in half, and then you want to cut this almost in half. It's a little bit higher. Remember, that's where your eye, that's where the bottom of the eye fits. It's up here is where the eyebrow fits, and we know the nose fits around here. The 3/4 view is very similar to that. I'm going to show you some things that kind of change. Now another way to look at the 3/4 view with the template is something like this here. So we see after we cut it in half here, and we cut it in half here for the eyebrows, everything is on a slight slant, which is important. Now up here I kept it straight just to give an idea of where things are going to fall, but everything kind of actually falls in a slant. Now the reason why this is, really quickly, is if you have a box, right, and you put that box in 2-point view. Now typically when you have a face and the face is turning to where it's in 3/4 view, it's either because it's coming off the center of the camera. So let's say this is our panel here, right? If the person's face is right in the center of the camera, then everything's going to be centered. But if the person's face is over here and the camera's still facing straight, you're going to get a slight 3/4 view, but in that case everything kind of stays straight here and it kind of comes at an angle here. It'd be just like if you were to draw a dresser in single point perspective. So if you were to think about a box here in this single point perspective, and that's the horizon line, this is the vanishing point because that's where the center of the camera is, and you're drawing some box over here, it has to come into perspective like this, that being the perspective lines coming over here, right? And so what happens is you're going to see part of the side plane of the box, right? So let's say the box is, this is the front view of the box, something like this, a rectangle of some sort, like that. Then the side plane is going to go like this, and we're going to see a little bit of that side plane of the box even though we're in single point perspective. But what happens when we go into 2-point perspective, and believe me, this is important to understand, and this point right here, just trust me, it's so important to understand this particular point when drawing a face. If we take the same kind of box that a head might fit into and we turn it to 2-point perspective, what's going to happen is, and that can actually be right in the center of the image, right? What's going to happen is it has 2 points on the horizon line that it goes to, right? That's how it vanishes here. Now depending on how much we turn that box is going to determine, you know, how big one plane is and how small the other plane is. So let's say this plane here, we have the front view of the plane of the box, and we have the side view plane of the box. This kind of represents the human head, and so naturally all the eyes and stuff are going to fall on this plane right here. So this is where your eyebrows will be, and then the eyes might be here, right? So you have your eyes on this plane here, the nose and the mouth, everything falls here. The ears are going to come back to this line here, right? So all these lines come back like this plane, and that means that the ears go by where the horizon line is, and so into the ear, not the horizon line, to the eyebrow line and the nose, and so that's where the ear would fall. So you notice the ear is at a slightly different angle, and it depends on where the horizon line is on how you draw the face in 3/4 view. Just keep that in mind, it's very important to understand. But let's go ahead and learn the basic formula here really quickly of drawing the 3/4 turn. Thought I was paused the whole time. Edit that part out. Alright, so if you look at the face here from the front view, and you overlap the 3/4 view, this is one way to kind of think about it. You can actually develop a template based on this. That is, you can still have that front view template and go, okay, well I know that the nose and everything is a move over. But I'm going to show you the way that, for me, it helps me draw in 3/4 view. And that's this template over here. So what I do is I still have the same front template here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this drawing here. And I just carry over the lines, right? I still have the front. Oh yeah, this is something I wanted to show too. Really quickly before we continue on. If you look at this blue drawing, right, you can see how it doesn't overlap, right? Look how much of an angle it comes at. Now watch how different this face looks. This is a common mistake people make. They make this all too slanted and the whole face comes out looking odd because of it. So it's definitely an error that you want to avoid. So if we have the lines coming across from this face here, that's going to give us the different cutting of the circle. So we're basically do everything the same as we normally would, have that perfect circle and everything, cut in half, cut in half. The difference is, and I'm going to show that here in a second, is when you cut this right here in half, that line, you take that line and you just kind of cut this next part in half just a little bit, and that's going to be pretty much where your eyes are going to be. Now or eyes and nose are going to be. Another way to look at that would be similar to this one here. Now this is a little different. Here what we're going to do is we cut it in half, and we cut this in half again, and this is actually going to be where our eye fits into, and then our other eye is actually going to fit a little bit over this, like in the middle of that. It just all depends on how I want to do it. I'm going to show you. Let's go ahead and do one, then we'll show different alterations of how you can do it. Right, so first thing to do is we're going to start with the perfect circle, and we're going to work just as if we're working on that front view. I'm going to go ahead and make the circle the proper size here. An easy way to do this is with the circle marquee tool. Just grab it and then hold down the shift key. That's going to allow you to bring it across all the way to exactly where you want it. And this is with Manga Studio 5, and then go to, we have to be on a layer that's going to allow you to make a new layer. And we're going to outline selection. I'm going to do it by 2 pixels. I'm going to be drawing in red for right now, like so. I'm going to use the line tool here. Again, if you're using a pencil and paper, you can just use a ruler if you need to, or just draw it straight down the best you can with freehand. I already have that line there, so I'm going to leave that there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to cut this layer in half like so. So the basic template here for the 3/4 view, the eyes are still going to be a full eye length apart. However, usually in comic books, what we're going to do is we're going to take this eye over here, we're actually going to shorten it a little bit further than what it normally is. Let's take this and almost cut in half. It's almost like you're cutting in thirds. And this right here is going to be about where the eye and nose all that's going to start. The nose is actually going to come off of the circle itself, but it's still going to be around that same height, but it's going to come off the circle out here. Just kind of like draw something like this. We know the eyebrow's up here, so we can start drawing the eyebrow coming in here like this and coming down, and that's going to form that whole entire nose area. We'll get into more details about how to draw the nose and all that kind of stuff. The eye is still going to fall on this eye line here. Some of the eye, when you're in this more extreme 3/4 view, gets hidden. Like so. We're going to kind of draw the... Now the face actually comes out and it follows the same angle of the nose, and then it starts to turn down like this here. Everything else is going to stay the same length. Imagine drawing a line coming straight down. Sometimes I actually make it a little bit shorter in this view. Now where the ear goes is important, but first let's focus on where the eyes are. So the eyes are going to be a full eye length apart. The eye is going to extend outside of this area, so let's take a full eye length, which is right about here. Now remember, everything kind of falls on angled line. It makes everything look better. Now you can decide about where you want the horizon line. That's going to determine whether or not you're seeing slightly from the bottom of the head or slightly from the top of the head. If you make the horizon line kind of in the center of the face, and the nose doesn't fall in a straight line, the eyes are actually going to slightly fall on an upward line, and the mouth is going to slightly fall on a downward line like this, because all these lines here are going into perspective off there to the horizon line, and the point of perspective is off there somewhere in space. Typically what I do is I do it based on obviously the perspective of the entire drawing you're working on. So you've got to keep, what's the perspective of the drawing that you work on. That I think that part is really important. But I'm gonna go ahead for now and keep this pretty straight, and you're gonna see that it still looks good. It's another alternative way to do it. Let's go ahead and draw just the basic eyebrow in here, like so. Now where the ear lands, it actually starts from partly inside of your face. We know that the earlobe is going to be somewhere down here. There's going to be a slight, angle downwards like that, so that's how you want to draw the ear to fit in there like so. And I like it to start inside and come outside a little bit. I'm just a temporary put something in there for now. What's important here is how you draw the edge of the face here. So I like to have, you take this length here of the eyeball, come out with that length one more time, and start following down, and I might even make the ear a little bit closer depending on that jawline there. Right here, now where the mouth is, which is the same bend of the mouth right here, that's where you start bending the jaw. So kind of come at an angle like this, and then you start bending the jaw at a much greater angle like so. Right, so this next part's really important, and it's this straight line right here. So this straight line, now you want to go to not the very center of the chin. You want to go a little bit to the left-hand side of the chin, and then take this line and slightly curve it like this. That's important because the lips actually fall onto a curve. I'm on the wrong layer here. There we go. So just take that whole line and slightly curve it. Right, and that's how we're going to draw our lips. Now this whole entire bottom part of the jaw, you can switch depending on, what look it is you're going for your style of comic book. This is just the basic guideline right here. Now next is to draw the lips. So again, I like to keep it the same. So if you can see one thing that's going to change, so I don't want my lips like that low down. That is, if I put my lips this low down, my philtrum is going to be quite large, and I don't want that large of a philtrum. And so the lips, because the nose kind of raises up a little bit, your lips also raise up a little bit. Just keep that philtrum idea in mind. This is the center of the lips. What happens is the lips get cut into three-quarter view. I'll talk about that in a second. When we go through the lip. How to draw lips in 3/4 view. That's when I'll go over how to draw the lips. Now you can see here that sometimes the chin might look a little bit long and large from the 3/4 view, but I just do that there first to get an idea. You can also draw your lips first. It's all up to you and how you go about doing this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole entire area here, and I like my faces to come in like this. And you can see this is very common for comic books that chins are not nearly as big. And now I can come with that same line, this right angle right here pretty much stays the same. And now I'm going to take my ear and I'm going to put it in now based on the jawline. I want my ear to fit in this area right here. The basic shape of the ear. The head's actually going to come right out here off the ear like that. And I'm going to have the back of the neck right about where the ear's at, and the front of the neck's going to kind of come like this here. I'll have this actually a little bit higher. There we go. Right, now that's the basic formula for the 3/4 view. That's how I like to do it. And if you look at different comic books, you're going to see that this is very common, that you don't have as many eyes here, that is, the head's not nearly as wide as it would be when you're drawing a typical comic character. You can even sometimes make all this area ratio even more shortened, the whole mouth area ratio even more short than what I have it. And here I have it to where it's a little bit longer, more like this one here, just to show the difference. And that's mainly because the mouth is open as well. Now the next thing is your hairline. So how the hairline works is you have, if it was a man hairline, you'd have your sideburns here, comes up here. This is where you have your slight widow's peak and come out like that, and then you want to see the hair over there, and the hair would kind of have a little bit of volume to it, like so. That same kind of idea you want to keep in mind when drawing hair for the female. Now I'm gonna go ahead and give her a typical hair. We'll go something like this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of start from here. We'll have the forehead come up. We're gonna follow pretty much that exact same this, start covering some of the ear. And what I was going to say is we're going to have the hair or the forehead follow that same part of the circle. And since I'm drawing right on top of the actual guidelines, I'm going to start getting rid of some of this right here. That was just so we can see, you know, kind of how it all looks. I like to come right here, like that. That's the shape. So it's this shape right here. That's the main shape of the face right there. You're not going to see nearly as much hair on this side of the face as you would on this side of the face over here. So here we're going to come off the head. I like to come out with this curl like this. You can come out with all kinds of different hairstyles. We're just going to do some basic one for now. There you go. So that's the basic template, and from that you can get slightly older looking women by having the chin extend down a little bit further and give them maybe slightly bigger lips, or you can have it a little bit shorter, and when you have it a little bit shorter it gives it kind of that youthful, more young look. And then you can also give it bigger eyes or smaller eyes and that sort of thing. If you give her slightly bigger eyes, this eye would go up and become slightly taller, and then this eye here would actually extend out this way a little bit further and come taller like that. So that would be the new lines that you would draw for the eyes, these being the old lines, right? So that would give it that slightly bigger eyed look. You don't want to have the eyes be closer together, so extend the eye out this way. And sometimes it might look cooler to you if you were to take this, because if you take this exact measurement right here and this measurement right here, you can see they're the same, but sometimes you'll notice the artist will take this whole entire eye and move it out just a little bit. So what that would look like, just take the eye here, kind of move it out like that, and that's something pretty common you'll see artists do, right? I personally don't like it. How I would get that effect or look is with the makeup. Right, now I'm going to go ahead and speed up real quickly here and do an inking over this so you can see how it looks when it's done. And we can have the eyes kind of maybe staring off one direction. It always looks better usually when we do that, rather than just staring off straight ahead of us. Alright, so I went ahead and sped up the inking. It actually took me exactly 3 minutes and 20 seconds to ink this, so very quick inking job, but it gets the job done and it shows you like what it looks like overall. Something to keep in mind is that it's all about, you know, your own personal preference to how you want things to look. So for me, I actually prefer this look better than the other look. The other look is a common look you'll see, that is that red sketch at the very beginning of this video. That's a longer face, and that is a typical thing you'll see in comic books, but I kind of like this more kind of youthful, younger look, and I tend to draw my women like that. Notice I slightly took her cheek and put it in a little bit further when I inked it there, making her look a little bit older, but she still has this kind of youthfulness because of the shortness of the jaw, or the chin and jaw. That's just a personal preference. It's how I like to draw my comic books. Everyone's different, so you know, draw it the way that you think looks good. But I wanted to show you, you know, the actual way that most comic books look, and that's why I went with those you know, proportions. All right, so that's it. There's the sped up version of the inking. All right, there you have it. So now let's go ahead and do the exercises. So watch the video for exercises, and then we'll do the eyes, nose, and lips and so forth from the 3/4 view.